Well, you're being, very close now.
By the way, it's recording.
Okay, let's kick ass.
See, but that's good candid interaction too. So, where you're not, I didn't tell you I was filming, so it kind of lets you.
Hey man, what's up? This is Ayin Thropos right here. You're on Ayin.
If you can see inside your miracle, and if you can feel the words I'm sending you with love, and you can feel the heart-struck miracle.
And let me tell you the final secret of this. Right. Another episode.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, Nancy. Nancy, do you realize how much close this motherfucker is? Jesus Christ, Nancy. Nancy, roll up your window. Nancy, roll up the window. Baby, it's putting a light on us.
Hello.
Get back. Ole Dammegard, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Okay, man, I can hear you awesomely. And welcome to another episode of You Don't Know.
Well, I sure don't. But I'm trying to find out.
Yeah, me too. And let me tell you, you're doing a good job. I notice of a lot of the researchers that are out there, you have a very comprehensive style. In other words, you started off interviewing JFK, right?
I started out some 30 odd years ago. It was JFK that caught my big interest to start with. JFK, then Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, Malcolm X, Abraham Lincoln, and so on. And so it brought me into this world of dark conspiracies without really understanding what I was getting myself into.
Were you a teenager when you first started investigating these matters?
No, I was a young journalist. I was in my 20s when I started. So, but that was where it all began on my part. But I think that I was born in Denmark, and I grew up in a family that was very involved in the resistance movement in Denmark during the German occupation or the Nazi occupation. And so I I think that all of these stories that I heard from my dad, who was in the underground movement, my grandfather was in jail for helping Jews escape to Sweden, my grandmother and my auntie were helping to smuggle weapons in, baby cars or whatever you want to call them, and so on. So I think I've got in my genes to start with that how important it is to stand up for what you believe in, for what is true and right, even though you might be in the minority of one. But just like Gandhi said, the truth is still the truth. Doesn't matter if there's 1,000 against you. If the truth is there, you just have to find it.
That's right. And let me tell you, one thing I've been following that you've been doing the last couple of years is this big false immigration that's coming upon Europe, bringing all these Muslim people into Europe. It's quite alarming.
But the thing is that I've been aware of that this would be coming for the last 20 odd years, because it has not been a secret. The people in the New World Order, David Rockefeller, Shabrinsky, these type of people have written in their books about their plan, the New World Order. They have Agenda 21, where you can see in great detail what they've been planning on. And then this whole thing with immigration has been part of the setup of how to destroy Europe nation by nation, dissolve the nationality, sovereignty, the national identity, and the immigration is part of this whole setup. And they're doing it just in a coordinated attack on Europe at the moment. But I say, if you have a problem with immigrants, one idea would just be stop bombing their countries. Then they would love to stay at home.
Wouldn't that be nice? Americans are so worried about terrorists. My God, I mean, some soldiers, the things that our military does in these other countries is just horrendous.
Do you know Chip Tatum, the CIA whistleblower, he was in the military his whole career. He worked as a top assassin. He was the commander of Pegasus, the ultra-secret hit team of George Bush Sr., where he was part of carrying out at least 14 assassinations in Europe and the Western world. He says, this is his word, and he's working very hard for the veterans, because of their very difficult situation and so on. He says the greatest terror tool on earth is the American military. And so when you look at it, from an objective point of view, ask yourself, how many wars have Libya started? How many wars have Syria started? These so-called terrorist states. How many wars have Afghanistan started? How many wars have Iraq? How many wars have Iran? How many wars have North Korea?
But Ole, let me stop you there. The United States hasn't started any wars. We're merely protecting democracy.
And that is absolute bullshit and perfect propaganda.
You're absolutely right. It really is.
Because if you look at it, the countries that I've just told you about that is being painted out, that these demonic dictatorships and very violent, the only country that I know of that in modern times have started a war is Iraq against Iran. And behind that war, there's a lot of major question marks around that as well. So, but when you look at the US, we're talking about in the hundreds, you're up in more than a couple of hundred wars. You've been at wars for the last, I don't know how many years. So you have to ask yourself, who is the bully here? Who is the one doing what to whom?
You're absolutely right. And I've been describing us as the bullies for probably a decade or more. What's the thing that's so fascinating about it is good people that are right here in the United States, if they were to, for some reason, listen to this interview, they would probably just be, reading us the riot act, because they're that mind controlled. They really are.
No, what I'm saying is that I really care for the American soldiers, for the individuals. Because I think it's extremely sad how people are, with good intention, that many of them sign up, to get a job, because it's mostly people from the poorer parts of society that are signing up, to get the benefits, to get possibilities for education. They sign up for the army also because they think that they will go out and fight for democracy, liberate the countries and so on. But once they get in there, they soon find out that, oh my God, I've been totally hijacked. And they find themselves in a situation where they're given orders to soil their soul by harming, raping, killing women, children, and so on, and innocent people, totally innocent people in countries that have done nothing. The only thing they have that is messing them up is that their country have oil, minerals, poppy fields, or is in a strategic location.
Exactly.
Or that's the whole thing. That's the only thing they've ever done that has caused this situation.
That's right. You know, we supposedly are going in there for humanitarian reasons, but you don't see us rushing into the Sudan or any of these poor countries. You know, we're only where they have, and you know, yeah, the oil and the poppy fields, of course, but even maybe that's the outside layer of an onion. What if a lot of these ancient countries have hidden technology from the ancients? I don't know where you're at on that.
We're talking about countries that have a very powerful background in the spiritual realms and so on. So these are also part of course, of these hidden operations that have been ongoing. But the thing is that it's a psyop, and many of these people in uniform are just being totally mind controlled. They're also being pumped up with all kinds of so-called vaccines and medical experiments that are pumping them up with steroids and you name it, going out and thinking they're doing the right thing, but what they're doing is they're destroying themselves. They come home as absolute wrecks with massive traumas. This is also why you have this incredible rate of suicides of veterans that is coming home.
Yes.
And then you think, okay, but then if the leader of your country, whoever that is who he or she claims to be, that would be a commander that, I mean, you applaud your troops, oh, thank you for what you're doing for your country. So wouldn't these be people that you would take care of when they came home? If they needed anything, they put themselves on the line, they maybe sacrificed limbs and legs and their mind. So wouldn't that be the people that would be celebrated as heroes and taken care of? Absolutely not. They're treated like dirt.
They really are.
And they are. I mean, Chip Tatum, he's doing everything he can for the veterans. He told me that for many people, returning veterans, it can take up to 6 years for them just to get the benefits that they are legally, it's their right to get. So they're lying around in veteran hospitals in diapers, just rotting away. Nobody cares about them, or homeless in the streets being treated like beggars.
Yeah, the homeless problem in Austin is really bad, and yeah, you've got veterans on the street and homeless. I mean, it's like being in the Twilight Zone. But you know, the people all want to feel good about them. You know, now that's the soldiers, but you're talking about the average American citizen, and they want the car payment, the new house, the clothes. They're keeping up with the Joneses and whatever, and they're doing their part in their minds by taking part in this partisan, you know, Democrat versus Republican deal, which is just a total lie. You know, I've never voted. I have never voted in my life.
No, neither have I. And it is, once you see that the system is rigged, then you just feel like, why would I even participate? And you will see that this democratic setup is used the same way in multiple countries. You have like two major parties, like a left and a right, just like arms on the same body, and then you got a few small ones in the middle, so that you can choose whatever you want of these ones. The thing is, you're getting the same body. It doesn't matter which arm or hand that you choose, it's still the same body, and that's why nothing changes.
That's fascinating. I've never heard it like that, but you know, sure, yeah, if you voted for Hillary or if you voted for Trump, you're getting the same thing. War.
It's like It's like shooting yourself in the right temple or in the left temple.
Right.
Have a choice.
Yes.
It's like, so what can you do? And I would very much suggest that there was a coup d'etat in the US and also almost worldwide in Dealey Plaza, November 22nd, 1963. That was, even though Kennedy came to office with some help of the mafia, the Chicago mob and so on, the assassination of him, he was the last real elected president. All the rest ones that have followed is just like another nice glossy cover of the same very brutal death machine that has just been pushing forward this agenda ever since.
Yes, and let me tell you, I doubt that you know this about me personally, but my book just came out recently, and my book is called My Family Created the National Security State. I have a very interesting background. My father's uncle, the congressional leader George Mahon, who's dead now, controlled every cent of the United States defense budget for over 40 years. He created the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, NASA, Operation Paperclip, Manhattan Project, and this is not a secret. A fifth grader can discover these facts. And I was told growing up that this man is more powerful than you can even imagine. And what I realized, the people that told me this, my family, they don't know anything. And what the truth is, he was more powerful than they could imagine. It was in these national meetings and balls and all this stuff, there's a protocol that's followed. Whether you're announced to the crowd, and then you go straight back to the very back at the table where he's sitting and pay your respects to him. And then you can go talk to the rest of the people. And it's just fascinating. He never said very much, but in Bill Cooper's, Bill Cooper, Behold a Pale Horse, that book by William Cooper, he personally accused my great uncle in that book of being the one who started the dumb bases, the deep underground military, joint military alien bases, whatever an alien is, I don't know. And then there's also, I hate this, I've never really said this before, but the people who have researched the AIDS phenomenon and who have found out that it's a biological weapon, before it was announced to the World Health Organization for all the scientists to try to find a differentiation in the S cell functions and the T cell functions, there was a meeting a meeting, and he didn't say anything at this meeting, but he was the chairman of the meeting. You can go to YouTube and listen to tapes of President Johnson begging him for money. I mean, he controlled all of the money, and I want to think, I'm not here to throw my own family under the bus, but somebody that high up, he must have had some amazing information about how this really goes down.
I think this is extremely interesting what you're saying, because the individuals that are really in power positions are people we never hear about.
Yes.
You got the theater being played out on a lower level. I mean, people think the president is the leader. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Somebody's behind the curtains pulling the strings, and these puppets are just there to make noises and look good in the media and so on, do press conferences. Otherwise than that, they have no function almost.
That's
the
right.
Real people are people like possibly your uncle here that I don't know so much about, who are really, I don't think what you're describing sounds to me like he was very high up in the power pyramid, absolutely not in the top, but that he was part of the people working like the Dulles brothers, like the Bush dynasty, these type of people, but working in this power structure where you have the Bilderberg Group, Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, Committee of 300, Skull and Bones, Club of Rome. These areas, it seems like he is right in there, and that is where so many of these things have been coordinated. They go hand in hand, like Operation Paperclip, NASA, the CDC, you got CIA, the creation of the CIA, OSS into the CIA, the FBI, how all of these things have been pushed together so that they're just different sides of the same coin.
In 1947, is where almost all this stuff came from. But the federal building in Midland, Texas, is named after two people, and it's the George W. Bush and George Mahon Federal Building. George W. Bush, his very first election, he ran against my great uncle, and he lost the election because my great uncle never lost an election. But that was kind of a changing of the guard, in a way. I mean, he had gotten old.
It's super interesting what you're saying, and I believe that it feels almost like the generations that were before us have done this, built up this whole monster power structure, and it's up to us, this generation, to sort it out.
That's right. So maybe
I believe that. Sorry, there's a delay. I'm in Southeast Asia, so I'm sorry if there's a time delay here.
So maybe I can make amends for my family.
Yeah.
Maybe.
This is how healing occurs. I think this is why we're here, why you have felt drawn into this area, why I have felt drawn into. I am at a point in my life where I started to suspect that my dad was involved in Danish Stay Behind in the Gladio network in Denmark, which is he died in '92, but now I'm finding out more and more stuff that is pointing towards him being part of that. And it's a little bit the same like you're talking about, where we need to sort it out.
That's right.
It was created before, and so we've been brought up with these things in our families to get a feeling and a better understanding of what it is we're up against, that normal people, so-called normal people, have not been given. So it's sort of like a benefit and part of our
mission
development. That's part of our mission.
Yeah.
I totally agree. It is a mission. It is a noble mission with a big caring heart for the world. We need to sort this out. And I would be very interested in getting to see your book and get more access to the information you're talking about.
Yeah, I'll make sure that you get a copy. One kind of scary aspect of it is, since I was a very young child, I've had an unshakable belief that I don't know where it came from, that I'm somehow going to be a world leader. And it reeks of programming, you see? And I was also given somehow the 4 stages of my life, how they would go down. And the very first, I was in prison for years. I've been in prison for about 1/10 of my life. And I knew that from a tiny boy, I knew that, and I'm now coming into the 3rd stage, and the 4th stage is this world leader deal, and I'm concerned.
I can understand your concern, because I don't think that is a very nice position to be in. That is, people have said the same about me, that I would be a great leader for some individual. I tell you, I can't even get a group of 4 people to decide on one pizza to order. So I would say I'm not a leader type. But what you can do is lead by example. That, I think, to inspire by who you are, and try to live your life in a way that will inspire other people to take back their personal power, so that we are not dependent on leaders or governments and so on, because we have in our hearts this beautiful silent voice that knows the difference between right and wrong. It's like a GPS we have in our heart that can guide us. We don't need people to tell us what to do. Follow that one, do the right thing, and you're fine. A perfect action in Raja Yoga, they say, is an action that hurts no one, but has some benefit for someone, yourself included. And so if you try and live from these type of things and treat other people the way you want to be treated, all of these old, beautiful ways become honorable, that your word counts. Do not do any violence to other creatures, animals involved, included, the nature included, but live your way in as most harmony as you can without destroying things around you. The more of us that does that, the more beautiful the whole thing will be. But there is this cancer growth that we have to focus on, because it's a malignant cancer that is growing very fast, and that is the small group that we're talking about, where your uncle seems to have been one of these cancer growths, or part of one, and we need to expose it, because otherwise it will kill this beautiful body. And we need to find if there's any metastases or whatever it's called in different locations, we have to locate them. It's because this cancer grows is like an octopus with tentacles in so many different areas. So we need to expose it, even though it's painful, even though it's smelly and horrible sometimes, it needs to be exposed. Otherwise, it will be the end of us.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We have to cut out the cancer that's around us. And that's the one blessing, a gift that I have. I love people. I love the people. And that comes first for me. And that's why I will somehow be able to do whatever I can in any small way. It's just supporting a group or doing my YouTube channel or whatever, you know.
There's how to deal with this, I don't know. I'm just like you. I'm trying to do my very best every single day, every single step. It looks like we're up against this humongous enemy, or like a power structure that is invincible. But that has been the case of all ages. And David and Goliath, it's no news. And apparently that is on a spiritual level the way we prefer it, because otherwise we would get bored. I don't know. But we are in this situation. So it's just a matter of deal with it. We have to deal with it. You can stick your head in the sand, or you can stand up and deal with it. I prefer dealing with it. But I also say that it's very, very important how we deal with it. And this is where I think the non-violent aspect is extremely important, because otherwise we will just be this. We will just start creating the exact same mayhem that they have been doing.
Exactly. That's the heart, you know, and that's why Gandhi is such a good example.
Yeah, this was an amazing individual. If you check Gandhi out, I mean, here is an individual with hardly any teeth. He walks around in what looks like diapers. He's got a stick. He's got no army, no title, no backing, no finances. He lives as simple as you can, and yet he managed to bring this message out to the whole world. He managed to get the British Empire out of India. He even managed to unite India. How is that possible? I mean, if you go to these countries and you see how it's just one massive how, but he did it.
Yes, he did.
He did it.
Mm-hmm.
So he is one of the few heroes I have, and I try to do everything I can to copy his way of acting in these situations and dealing with these situations without hate, without revenge in my heart, without anger. Just deal with it. See the sin, not the sinner. You know, bless the sinner, but stop the sin. You have to. It's not a matter of being a wuss. It's not a matter of just bending down and said, okay, I'll pull off my pants and just do whatever you want. That is not what I'm saying. It's a matter of standing up, but standing in absolute truth, your love, your compassion, and meet these forces, because they are shit scary. These are very violent forces that deal with problems by eliminating them and destroying them.
And intimidating them. And terrorizing. And you see, the fear that people have of physical violence and stuff like this, I was someone who had fear, and that's a big part of the reason why I either put myself through it or for some reason went to prison for all these years, to become hardened, like in a fire, you know, and to become hard. And I was, of course, forced to live in a lifestyle of extreme violence, and I was in prison gangs, a prison gang that I don't mention the name of that prison gang, but you have definitely heard of it. And but I've forsaken violence. But at the same time, I've been able to overcome my fears.
It's called, I call it boot camp. You know, if you look at people that are really making a difference in the world, these people have not had an easy life most of the time. It is not that you just suddenly one day stand up and become like a hero or a spiritual leader or something. They have gone through absolute hell to strengthen their spiritual muscles, to face their fears, like you, been forced into these situations where there's no way around it. You have to deal with it. And fear is the key one. That's the only way they can control us. So fear is crucial to become a friend with your fear, and so that you can let go of it as well and know how to deal with it. Because fear is always connected with the future. You're never afraid of anything in your past. So it has to do with the future, and it's something that has not yet happened. So the real enemy is actually in your mind. That is where fear is. And so it's up to us to learn how to deal with this fear thing, so that we can be calm, be compassionate, be absolute fearless, and very powerful in confronting these forces. And sometimes it's a matter of not confronting either. But I think the martial art, Aikido, I love it. I absolutely love it, because the way that is built up is like, you got karate, for instance, and kung fu, where force meets brutal force. You block strikes, and you block hits and kicks and stuff like brutal force. That's, in my opinion, the way they speak. They just try to destroy things. But Aikido is a totally different aspect. It's the one where it looks like they have black skirts on, but they're actually pants. What you do in Aikido is that you are getting attacked, you stay absolutely focused. Your first concern is get out of the way. So you get out of the way of the attack. Is it a blow or a knife or whatever it is? You get out of the way in total balance. You do not cloud your mind with any hateful thoughts, so that will just slow you down and interfere. And then what you do is you redirect the direction of the energy of the attack into a circular motion, most of the time downwards, so that the attacker falls on his own force. You just direct him, you make absolute sure that he doesn't hurt himself, so you take care of him while he's falling. You put your shoe under his head so that he doesn't smash his head into the floor, and then you control him by a lock grip. So it's a totally non-violent way of dealing with brutal force. There's no violence whatsoever. There's no anger. It's just a matter, I'm being attacked, redirect the energy, get out of the way, redirect the energy, and control it. And then
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And it looks like a dance. You can see it's so beautiful. So I say that's the way to deal with it. So
I like
dance
that.
with your fear. Dance with your fear. Focus on your inner balance, your physical balance, and so on. And what happens is also, I love it. I absolutely love it. It's like when you face brutal forces, but without letting fear in, they get very confused. Because these people, individuals in uniform, in prisons, whatever, they count on you to become fearful. It's their language. They say, I will beat the living shit out of you, I will cut your throat, I will chop you up in little pieces. It's fear. They're trying to inflict fear in you so they can control you. But if you are not fearful, okay, they might chop you up. But many times, what happens is they get very confused because you don't react the way you're supposed to do. Can't you see my badge? Can't you see my uniform? Can't you see my SWAT outfit, whatever? Can you not see how dangerous I am? If you just stand there without interacting with their power game, you will see the fear come to their eyes. Because first there's a confusion, then there's a fear, and then the few times I've been in this situation and been able to focus on love, what I try to do normally, if there's one aggressive individual in front of me trying to scare me or shout at me or whatever, I try to let my mind focus on love. So what I do, the word that works for me is, since the mind can only think one thing at a time, I occupy it with almost like a mantra. The way what I say is divine, divine, divine. He's somebody's father, he's somebody's son, he doesn't know what he's doing, he's divine, divine. That keeps my mind focused and not getting into fear mode, because if I get fearful, the chances of me getting hurt are so much bigger. And then what I look for is, I focus, very often these individuals have extremely black eyes because they're so into aggression, they're so pumped up with adrenaline and so on. But so you cannot see the human spark there. But so I focus, instead of listening to what they're saying, I just turn down the volume, focus on my inner divine, this one, and then I look in their eyes for the spark, the human spark. And what happens if I manage to do this, which I've done a few times, is that suddenly, boom, you see the spark, and it's almost like a small little explosion, of a love explosion in their eye, because suddenly you're in a situation, instead of facing a monster or an aggressive attacker, suddenly you see the person. And I tell you what have happened in these situations is that just 5-10 minutes down the road after these confrontations, or I wouldn't call it confrontation, but these situations, this individual has suddenly become very friendly, has, please, if you need help, here's my card, I'll offer you, they started talking about their problems with their wife, she doesn't understand that I have bulletproof underpants on, or whatever it is, these type of things.
Yeah.
So from us, instead of being enemies, there's suddenly this human connection. And I believe that when this happened, I call it the Jesus factor, or the divine whatever it is, that is so much bigger than us who are just taking part of the situation. I think that from that day on, this individual would have massive problems continuing the way of violence, because there's been a crack. There's been a crack, and it will never work again, because there's been a seed sown in his mind that will keep reminding him it's wrong. What you're doing is wrong. It's waking these. At least that is what I hope.
Yes, I really hate to even make this revelation, but just even a week ago, I found myself in some trouble with some people in uniform, and it was pretty serious, but I was only concerned for my dog, and they were going to take my dog to these other people over here, which they did not have to do. And when they were confronting me with this and that, I was thanking them with a genuine thanking for taking care of my dog. And let me tell you, some shit just disappeared. I mean,
that is such a beautiful way of doing it. Had you gone into aggression, had you gone into attack, your dog might have been shot, or something bad would have gone down. So it's a super way you dealt with that situation. You did not get scared away. You did not get into fear. You handled the situation, but with a balanced mind, and the result became beautiful. Well done, well done.
Thank you. I wish I could give you more details, but I mean, it's the details are so extreme as far as what it could have been and what it ended up being. I'm still not over it. It was less than a week ago, and but anyway, so yeah, it's a great timing that we're having this interview now. I had contacted you several months ago, wanting to have an interview with you, and of course you're very busy. Now let me ask you, what country are you in right now in Southeast Asia?
I tell you, I prefer not saying anything until fine. I get back home.
Of course, that's fine.
Because I'm here for a reason, and some
fine.
Countries are less nice to be in if you get involved with these type of investigations. So once I get back home, which will be in a few weeks, I'll be happy to tell you all about it.
Okay, cool. I appreciate that. And I've been fortunate enough to have traveled to Thailand and Japan and Hong Kong, and I'll tell you what, it's really a different world over there. But the people,
and very hot.
Yeah, very hot. Yeah. Well, it's yeah, very. The bugs are real big, you know.
Listen, I want to mention one thing since you're in Texas, because one of the things I found over the years is that in these alleged terror attacks, I think it was in 2013, an insider, anonymous insider, contacted me and who had followed me for a few years, and he said that you have to become aware that the forces behind these operations, they deliberately leave clues in the forensic evidence. I said, what? He said clues about upcoming attacks. They leave it in hidden in plain sight, right in front of us. But they have to do it because the way they interpret the law of karma is that if they tell us, even in subtle ways, and we do not react, then the bad karma is on our shoulders. Yeah, you know, not theirs.
Yeah, we're complicit. We're complicit in it somehow. We're giving our approval, so to speak.
That is exactly it. So the way they see it is they're very fearful of this law. I think it's a very bizarre way of interpreting the law. I think this law of karma will hit back very badly on them because these forces have been involved in so much mayhem. But anyway, once I started seeing that this is actually true, I focused since late 2013 on finding the clues. Where is the clue of the next upcoming operation? And what I found over the years is that this is not something happening just in the US, just in England, just in Germany, just in France. This is a coordinated attack on the world, more or less, on the Western world, where alleged terror attacks are part of the fear-mongering control system. And so these clues have led me from the US to Melbourne, to Canada, to Switzerland, to Germany, to France, to England, and so on. So, and since I've been able to now learn sort of the language they're using with these hidden clues, I've become quite good at interpreting. At least I believe I'm up to 12 now that I publicly predicted on international radio up to 3 months before they happened. Where I pointed out exact location. I haven't been able to do it with the time, but most of the time they use these specific dates like Halloween, like Valentine's, Poppy Day, Veterans Day, but also the 22nd of the month is one of the days that they keep. And also they keep recycling the date so that it's the anniversary of another mass shooting or another terror attack and so on.
Ritual upon ritual. Ritual upon ritual, yeah. And
that's exactly it.
Let me no, please continue.
So after the Las Vegas shooting, I can tell you more about what clues I found there, but I found clues pointing straight to Fort Lauderdale Airport, or north of it, northwest of the Fort Lauderdale Airport. So I went out in December. You can find my newsletter as well on lightonconspiracies.com. If you sign up for the newsletter, you also get access to the archives where you can follow all of my predictions and how they have then happened over the years. And so I predicted in December about a possible attack northwest of the Fort Lauderdale Airport. And this is exactly where this latest Parkland one happened. Before that, I predicted the Kentucky shooting from clues I found around these fires in California. I can tell you about how these clues, what the type they look. But the latest shooting here in Florida, the clues I found here are pointing straight to Texas. And I believe that the one that they're planning is on March 18. It will take place on Elm Street 1925, the Majestic Theater, and the Parkland Hospital will be involved as well. So I've been pumping out that this is a possible next attack. So since you are in Austin, I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah,
and
you gave me, in the email, you gave me the clues talking about Dealey Plaza. Are you talking about an attack in Dallas, Texas in the next couple of weeks?
No, yeah, I'm talking about March 18. The operation will be, the headquarters of the operation will be at the Majestic Theater on Elm Street 1925, the same street where Kennedy was assassinated. Parkland Hospital would be involved in this drill as well. There's a big drill going on that day, and that drill, if I'm correct, will get from a drill into an active shooter or mass shooting event. The Parkland Hospital, where JFK was taken after the shooting and where he was pronounced dead, where they hijacked his body, will also take place or take part of this operation. So I'm pointing to this since you are in Texas, and I'm suggesting to people on location, because the drill is always there when these force-like attacks take place.
I can't even believe it. They're doing a drill for a terrorist attack, and then a terrorist attack just happens to happen. I mean, it's the most mind-boggling thing I've ever. It just shows you really how gullible people are, that they can't see this happening.
That I don't want to speak sort of like look down on people that are asleep.
I know it.
I'm still asleep in many. I think I'm asleep in many areas still. I think that I'm sort of aware of many layers, but I'm sure there's many layers that are still. I'm sort of like unlearning a lot every day. Things that I thought that I knew that just turns out, oh my God, is that based on lies as well? Was that also a false flag? It's just unreal. There's so much of it.
Yeah, no, you're right. People are not stupid. People are very intelligent, and it just goes to show the ingeniousness of these programs and these things that can override our. But fear is a big part of it. Not wanting to look at the facts, you know. And I think that there's also some type of programming, like there's. Maybe when you're born or something. I don't know what it is.
It's like, I think we should salute ourselves, you know, because we're up against the biggest propaganda machine the world has ever seen, and it's covert. So most people are not even aware of that. Media, film, music, all of these are part of diverting our attention away and pumping our minds full with a lot of crap, but we're still standing. I mean, they have tried everything they can so far. They tried state-sponsored terrorism. All of these attacks. They tried virus attacks. Whatever. They've tried it. They tried in so many different ways, and here we are, 2018, still standing.
Okay, now based on what you're saying right there, I just want to point out another like synchronicity or just bizarre fact about what's going on with me right now. I'm dating a woman who is literally one of the most beautiful women in the world, and get this, she's a Hollywood movie director. She's a Hollywood movie director. She's worked on Miss Congeniality, Predators, Push, some big-time movies as a costume designer. She is a director for smaller movies, and I really love her, and she's been having some problems with some entity attachments. We've been going through hell for this last year, and we've even been working with some psychics. But, I mean, it's just too much of a coincidence, isn't it? And that I'm kind of not necessarily being derailed by her, but it's just, I mean, it's incomprehensible.
You know, when you look at the magnitude of many of these operations, and where one of the key things is totally compartmentalization, that every individual only knows his or her little part of the machine. It's very important that they don't know more than just their little part. If you know too much, you become a threat, and they will have to deal with you. So they keep you in the sort of, like I say, they don't want you to understand. And Hollywood is one of the main areas when it comes to this media, or how to pump your head full of crap, or whatever, design crap, whatever it is they want to get into your subconscious, they will go that way. So Hollywood is quite a dangerous place to get into.
Yeah, they're more dangerous than the military. It really is kind of like our military. They conquered the world. Hollywood conquered the world. It was just the guys with guns that just kind of went in and cleared things out, you know, and the bomb ship, you know, the battleships and all this stuff.
they're working hand in hand, and the Pentagon are approving a lot of the film scripts and the financing of movies that are getting made. So it's not by coincidence that we see the same type of films, the predictions of operations and so on. So, but people that are involved often are not aware of it. That is the incredible thing.
Even at the highest levels, sometimes not the very highest, but pretty high. They suspect, but they don't know.
Do you know, I have a friend who works for one of the American film companies here in Europe, and this individual is working with people on a very high level. This individual is very informed about these things, very concerned, but also I keep saying this individual because I don't want to say if it's a he or a she or whatever. On the level where this individual is, the boss on that level seemed to be unaware of it. And here we're talking about sort of the head of the European department of this big movie corporation, and they don't seem to be aware of it. So when you see all the hidden clues that are put in the graphics and computer gaming as well in the backgrounds, on what level do they do it? On what level, where does the order come from? It seems to be that these orders about the design and the clues and the symbolism, they come up very high and are sort of pushed in the background without anyone noticing it. So you can't say just because there's a director of a movie that this individual are really in on it. Sometimes I think
they're not. And let me tell you, Ole, and this is one of the questions I want to ask you because you're very involved in the worldly aspect of these conspiracies and stuff like this. But none of this stuff makes any sense. The whole thing would have fallen apart a million times throughout history if it wasn't for the non-human intelligences.
I don't know. These are areas
I don't either. But it's the glue that seems to hold everything apart together. And now that you say the occult, you know, a lot of conspiracy theorists say, well, it doesn't matter if the occult's a bunch of bullshit. They believe it, you know. And so just based on what you said, when they do these things on certain dates, on certain times, and everything, the people are very heavily involved in the occult. And now let me drop another bombshell. Not for my listeners because they already know this, but on top of all these other things, I am in a secret society, and we put on black robes, and it's called the OTO. You've no doubt heard of it. You've never heard of the OTO? It was a organization that was.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I thought you said the Oak Show.
No. The OTO, the Ordo Templi Orientis. And Aleister Crowley was a big part of that, and I'm in the lower levels, and I can, without revealing any secrets, I can tell you they don't tell us shit. We're told, they keep us in the dark pretty much, you know. But I was just compelled as a youth to be involved in this, and I don't know why, but I've been following recently, not saying going away from that. I haven't been in over a year. I'll tell you that right now. I've got to pay my dues this month or I'm going to be in trouble. But I've been following John Lamb Lash, and I like the narrative of the Sophia, the Earth Mother, you know. And so that's kind of what I like. But I want to seize on something that you mentioned earlier when you said that they were in our minds. And this brings up, and of course, countless people, I've come to this conclusion on my own, but countless people have made the same, or not countless, but a lot of people have made the same observation when they talk about these Carlos Castaneda books. And Don Juan, or Don Juan, however you want to call his name, he's talking about this predator, which may be the archons, and he's saying they pull the ultimate maneuver. They gave us their minds. So maybe they are out there in spaceships, but at the same time, they're in the head somehow of every human being, maybe. I don't know.
The way I see it is that I can speculate all I want. I don't know. What I do know is that when you look into these things, I keep bumping into satanic rituals, sexual abuse, many of these horrific, dark things. Are you still with me? I think we got disconnected.
No, I can hear you. Can you not hear me?
Okay.
Can you see me?
Can.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, the picture froze, but so I thought, no, here you are again. Anyway, so I can say for sure that the forces that are carrying these operations out are very, very much involved or deeply into these things. I don't get them myself. I would say that this organization that you're talking about, where you are a member, it's just like the Freemasonic lodges and so on. There are different levels, and they will have a lot of people on the first 2-3 levels. These people are just like shop windows, giving the whole organization a good rap, looking good. Oh, we're just a helping organization, a charity, and so on. But then you have these. I'm pretty sure that you're going through rituals as well. To get to higher levels, and these rituals are there to test you. You will never find out if you pass the test or not. But if your mind is too free, if you're not willing to totally join the course and give yourself up in the name of the course, you will only reach to a certain level, and they will treat you very nice and so on. But you will not get up into the higher levels of these organizations. And so the thing is, it's just getting on a bus. It's just the same as getting on a bus. You're on the bus, but you don't know who the driver is, and you're part of the whole thing, but not understanding where the whole thing is heading. And this is why I believe these type of organizations are quite dangerous. I would not recommend anyone to get into them without knowing what they're getting themselves into, which you very rarely know on the lower levels. And then the few people that they do trust, that would be loyal to the course, are then being upgraded. But what is in the absolute top, who knows? And I don't know. I'm almost coming to a point where I start to see that these dark forces are real forces, like they're talking about Satan as a real entity, and so on. I don't know, but it feels to me like the way, when you look at the artists, people in the movie business, many others that are getting a very successful career, they have gotten in bed with the devil, so to speak. They've signed over their soul to these dark forces, and my God, I do not envy them. Maybe they get a very successful career, but the price they're paying, I think, is demonic, literally.
Well, to overcome the enemy or to fight the enemy, one of the biggest dangers is becoming like the enemy. We know this from philosophy and stuff like this, and so I hope you're ready for yet another bombshell. This is something.
Go for it.
Okay. In 2016, one thing I do with my show is I go around the world investigating things having to do with pyramids and elongated skulls and stuff like that. I was in Peru doing the elongated skulls in Paracas and looking at and doing the ayahuasca ritual and stuff like this. And that same year in 2016, on the autumnal equinox, I went to Mexico, to Catemaco, which is called the city of the witches, or the town of witches. And I contacted a man ahead of time who was one of the most powerful men in Mexico at this time, the sorcerer Enrique Berdón. And there I engaged in a 2-day-long ritual. It was a black magic ritual on the autumnal equinox, and then a white magic ritual the following day. But in the black magic ritual, after we did our widdershins and everything around a flaming pentagram, I was taken down into an underground sacred cave. And I went down the steps, down the steps, down the steps. And there was candles lit on every step, and there had been a candle lit in this cave for over 7 years. And I had no idea that this is what it was going to be. But then I went down there. The cave was there with all these skulls of animals and stuff all over the place. But your eyes were just drawn to this 10-foot-tall statue of Lucifer. And he said, "This is Lucifer." And it was red, and it was the most amazing physique you've ever seen. and then he had horns coming out, and he was like a bodybuilder, and he also had, it was naked and had a penis sticking out. There was a very big erection, and it was because of this sight that I beheld that I did not notice what was at the bottom of the statue, and that was a sacrificial altar with a totally nude 16-year-old clairvoyant girl writhing in ecstasy in a trance. And the ritual went